So you did it. You got the certs, PMP, CSM, maybe you even have a PMO certification sitting on your desk. But now what? How do you actually turn that stack of paper, that digital badge, into real-world power and influence? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down today. And this right here, this quote says it all. This is the moment where those certifications stop being just, pieces of paper and start turning into real leverage for your career. We're talking about moving past the stamp collecting phase of getting credentials and actually building a system that puts them to work for you. Okay, so let's talk about the big mistake that so many of us make. We get these certs and we put them in these neat little boxes, right? The old way is thinking, okay, PMP, that's my waterfall box. CSM, that's my agile box. PMOCP, that's the governance box. But that is not how the real world works. The new way, the way that's going to get you ahead, is to see them all as part of one integrated system. Think of it like a master toolkit where you're pulling out different tools, sometimes a few at the same time, to get the job done right. And that brings us right into our first big idea here. We have to move beyond just having a stack of certs. All right, get ready for this, because this right here is the central aha moment. This is the one mental shift you need to make. We've got to stop thinking in those silos we just talked about and start thinking in layers. So what do I mean by layers? Well, take a look at this. This is how a real organization actually operates, whether they know it or not. Up at the top, you've got the strategy and governance layer. This is the why behind everything we do, and it's where your PNP and PMO skills really shine. Then you've got the execution engine. This is the how, the day-to-day work getting done. That's where your agile certs, your CSM, your SAFE, that's where they live. Next up, the intelligence layer. This is the modern piece, using AI PM skills to make smarter decisions. And what holds it all together? That's the leadership glue. It's not one cert, it's you, using all your skills to manage people, stakeholders, and risk. The key thing to realize is that these aren't separate stages, they're all happening at the same time. Okay, so that's the theory, these operating layers. But how do you actually put them into motion on a real project? Well, that's where something called the real-world compound loop comes into play. Think about it. Pretty much every single initiative you work on, I don't care if it's big or small, goes through this continuous cycle. There's strategy, then delivery, then you get feedback and you adopt. It's a loop. So now, let's look at exactly how your different certifications plug into each one of these stages. All right, step 1, strategy and intake. This is huge. This is where your PMOCP and PMP knowledge become your superpowers. See, you're not just sitting there waiting for work to be assigned. No way. You're actively shaping what gets worked on. You're prioritizing the portfolio, you're figuring out how you're actually going to measure success with benefits realization, and you're setting up the rules of the road with governance. And what you're really doing here, the signal you're sending up to the business, is an answer to one critical question. Are we doing the right work? Getting this right is absolutely foundational. If you're working on the wrong stuff, nothing else matters. Okay, so once you've confirmed you're on the right track, it's time to actually build the thing. We move into execution. And this is home turf for your agile certs, right? Your CSM, SSM, SAFE. You're setting up the daily rhythm of the team, running your Scrum events, managing flow with Kanban, untangling all those tricky dependencies. The signal coming out of this layer is all about speed and momentum. The question you're constantly answering now is, are we delivering this thing efficiently? Are we moving smoothly? And now for the really cool part, the intelligence layer. This is where a truly modern PM separates themselves from the pack. If you've got AI PM skills, you're not just going on gut feel anymore. You're using data to predict risks before they happen, to forecast delivery with way more accuracy, and to give your team and leaders the info they need to make the best next move. So notice how this layer is all about looking ahead. The signal here is so important. It's asking, okay, based on everything we know, are we choosing the smartest possible next move? It's the difference between being proactive and just reacting to whatever fire pops up. And here we are, coming full circle back to the top. Step 4 is all about translation. You're taking all that data from the delivery and intelligence layers and feeding it back to leadership, and you're using those PMOCP skills again to do it. You're not just reporting on story points, you're translating sprint metrics into business outcomes. You're translating technical risk into language that an executive can actually understand and make a decision on. Now lean in for this, because this is probably the most important part. This translation step. This is the secret weapon. This is where most PMs completely fail. They get stuck down in the technical weeds, talking a language leadership doesn't understand. But you're going to be the one who connects the engine room to the bridge of the ship. And that, my friends, is how you win. Okay, I can hear you thinking, this sounds great, but my current job doesn't let me do all this. And that's a fair point. But here's the best part. You don't need to wait for anyone to give you permission to start gaining this experience. You can start now. So here's option A. I want you to think about running a shadow PMO. You can do this right inside your current company, or for a volunteer group you work with, even an open source project. You just start. Create a simple intake form for new requests, prioritize that work using a basic framework, use agile ideas to manage the delivery, and then, crucially, report back on the value you created. You build the system yourself. And after you've done that, even on a small scale, you have earned the right to put a line like this on your resume. Just read that. It screams strategic thinking, tactical skill, and modern oversight. To a hiring manager, that is pure gold. It tells a whole story in one sentence. All right, option B is for anyone who wants to create a public portfolio of their work. Pick an initiative. It could be a personal project, something you're building on the side, or even a detailed hypothetical case study. And then you document everything. Create the project charter using your PMP knowledge. Map out the governance model with your PMOCP thinking. Lay out the agile plan. This becomes a tangible artifact, real proof that you know how to integrate these skills. And hey, if you're coming from a more technical background like data science or engineering, listen up. This is your unfair advantage. You have to reframe how you talk about your work. Stop saying, I built a model. Start saying, I managed the intake and prioritization for the project, we used an iterative delivery process, and I provided executive reporting on the outcomes. You see the difference? You instantly become a triple threat. You understand product, you understand delivery, and you understand the AI. So let's put it all together. The next time you're in an interview and someone asks that classic question, so which methodology do you prefer, agile or waterfall? This is your new answer. It's smart, it's confident, and it immediately shows that you're not just a follower of one single dogma. You're a strategic thinker who tailors the approach to the problem at hand. And to help you with that, here's a little cheat sheet, a quick guide for making that choice. If you're dealing with a project with tons of uncertainty, you're going to want to lead with agile and maybe some AI forecasting. Got a project with heavy compliance and regulatory needs? You lean hard on your PMP and PMO/CP knowledge. Trying to scale across a bunch of teams? That's where SAFe and your PMO skills come together. It's a starting point for any situation you might face. All right, we've covered the layers, the loop, and the practical steps, but there's one last piece. The mindset that actually makes all of this work, the thing that unlocks everything. Because let's be real, here's the ultimate truth of it all. Certs are great. They get you the interview, they give you a fantastic toolkit, but the certs themselves don't make you qualified. Judgment does. Your ability to look at a messy, real-world situation and know exactly which tool to pull from the toolbox, that's what makes you valuable. So I want to leave you with a challenge, a way to build that judgment muscle. I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions every single day on every project you're on. First, what's the right decision for us to make right now? Second, what trade-off am I knowingly making by choosing this path? And third, what's the one crucial signal my leaders need to hear from me today? If you can get in the habit of answering those questions, you won't just be mastering project management, you'll be mastering leadership.